The planet is on a healing path from coronavirus. Vaccination against COVID-19 has begun around the world. The best virologists promise to bring people back to normal reality. What's happening now in different countries, where quarantine has become a way of life? When can we breathe again without masks? All this in the Stop COVID program. Every day, COVID-19 is increasing the number of its victims. By February of this year, more than 100 million people had already been infected. 2 million of them could not overcome the disease. And it seems that in December last year, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Vaccinations began around the world. Suddenly, the UK stunned virologists. There was a mutation of COVID-19. In order not to become infected with a new unknown strain, many countries have stopped flights from London. The UK itself closed for another lockdown.
Hello Kazakhstan, it's me Bakit again from Glasgow, and I'll be briefly informing you on the current pandemic situation in the UK. In response to COVID-19 public health crisis, the UK has put so far 3 lockdown measures to slow the spread of the virus. And we are now on the 3rd lockdown, which will continue differently in every part of the UK. Accordingly, lockdown measures might differ depending on which part of the UK you are. But talking about Scotland, where we are now, it is under restriction level 4.
Lockdown has affected all the people in different perspectives, but the 9 to 5 workers are mainly affected by this lockdown. Because before this lockdown, I was going to office every day, 9 to 5, working there, meeting new friends and like my colleagues. Had a very different kind of time. But since March last year, I didn't go to my office for a single time. I'm working from home all the time, and like I cannot go to see my friends here, even in the city. Like only I can see one person outside. I can't go to restaurants, I can't go to bars or something else.
Under this enhanced restriction level 4, people are allowed to leave home only for essential reasons, such as caring responsibilities, essential shopping, and exercise. Only 2 people from 2 households are allowed to meet outdoors. Universities teaching online. Schools remain closed except for vulnerable people and children of key workers. Church, mosques, worship places remain closed except for weddings and funeral services. All the non-essential businesses, such as retail outlets, hospitality venues, entertainment, are mandated to close. And even food takeaway shops are working under certain restrictions where customers are not allowed to collect food inside the restaurant. No travel is allowed outside of your local area, except for, again, essential reasons.
I have my family in Manchester. I'm not able to go there to see them because I have to stay here, work from home. And yeah, sometimes in this situation, all ongoing stress, you want to see your family and friend more than before, but this lockdown not making it simple.
There have been more than 3.7 million confirmed cases of the virus, and more than 100,000 people have died. However, good news is more than 7 million people have already taken their first dose of vaccine, and more than 500,000 people have taken their second dose of vaccine.
I have seen a time in the start of the lockdown when the normal essential things were not available in markets, like the toilet rolls and the soaps and things. Everything was finished from the markets, and we have to like wait for at least 2 weeks to get everything done. The things are normal for essential things like we can buy, but still we are missing our social life and the social perspective of the life. Hopefully things will go better with the vaccine spread, and praying for that the things get normal.
Britain became the first country to use the development of the University of Oxford in addition to the vaccine, which is well known and used in the United States and Europe. The government placed an order for 100 million doses. In addition, Argentina and India have already officially confirmed their intention to use this drug. The new UK variant of COVID-19 is dangerous for children and pregnant women. January for the UK ended tragically. More than 1,000 people a day died of COVID. This is a world record. According to scientists, only vaccination can save the population from the new infections and new deaths. Great Britain sets a record here too, with 1 million vaccinations per day. Only Israel can compete with it, where already a third of the country's population have received their vaccine. Correspondent Aya Shafran found out why people are in a hurry to be among the first ones to be vaccinated. My name is Aya Shafran and I welcome you from Beersheba, the southern capital of Israel. Now we are in the middle of the third lockdown, which imposes a number of restrictions on us. For example, we must not move more than 1 kilometer away from home without a good reason. We cannot go to visit our friends or to the movies. Most of the shops are closed. Quarantine is disastrous. During the 11 months of the quarantine, 6 stores are no longer working. Children have suffered greatly, teenagers. My grandson is 15 years old and he hasn't been to school for almost a year. Since September, he has been at school for 2 or 3 days. It's very difficult psychologically. In addition, Ben Gurion International Airport recently closed its operation. For how long, we do not know. They said until better times. True, this time we have every reason to believe that these very best times are about to come, since the country is undergoing a large-scale vaccination campaign. We have 2 options, to get sick or to get vaccinated. I still prefer to get vaccinated as soon as possible. Soon I will have a second one. There are rumors that they will introduce some kind of COVID passports or something like that. And I see that the world is changing in such a way that preference will mostly likely be given to those who provide a test that they are not sick or provide a vaccination certificate. There was a feeling of a bruise of some kind. The injection place ached. Maybe the arm was a little numb in the shoulder area. Nothing more. There were just strange sensations in the body. So far, more than 2.5 million people have received the first dose of the vaccine. And this is quite a lot considering that the total population of Israel is 9 million people. Several large companies have delivered millions of vaccines to Israel. First of all, they began to vaccinate risk groups. These are the elderly people and those who have chronic diseases. Now they began to vaccinate school children from 16 to 18 years old. They have to take exams. Pregnant women also, because it was discovered that a new mutation of the virus is especially dangerous for them. But other people who do not meet this criteria, if they really want to, can also be vaccinated. We asked the Israelis, how do they feel about vaccination? In general, I have no strong feelings about vaccination. Since I had to, I got it. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't have done it. Basically, the most important thing is that I wanted to have a green passport, which we were promised. With it, we can travel abroad. We will be accepted everywhere with this green passport. But it turned out that so far, this will not work.
Во-первых, у меня пожилые родители, которые за 70
First of all, I have elderly parents who are over 70 years old. I want to continue to see them. The second point, I'm an athlete. I go in for sports. I'm a hockey player. We play hockey. There is an Israeli league. And this is also a condition for the sport to continue to exist. It's necessary that all athletes have been vaccinated. I got vaccinated. I've already taken 2 shots, and I did it with only one purpose. I want to travel abroad. This is what we were promised. As Solomon said, everything passes, and this will pass too. From the very beginning of vaccination, Israelis were invited to be vaccinated in a letter. However, in fact, anyone could get their dose. By the end of the day, there were unused doses at each of the vaccination points. The shelf life, by the way, is extremely limited. Therefore, many young people whose turn had not yet arrived literally looked for unused vaccines throughout the city.
Мне пришлось еще 2 пункта объехать, чтобы наконец получить свою прививку.
I had to go around 2 more points to finally get my vaccination. Well, I probably spent 3 hours. I think it was a great success for me because I am not in any risk group yet, neither by age nor by any other parameters. And I decided that by all means I would be vaccinated on that day.
Чтобы я не стал привьюсь, раз уж я вышел ради этого.
You won't have to run for the second one. If you receive the first one, the second is prescribed by appointment 3 weeks after the first shot.
Совершенно случайно на Фейсбуке.
Quite by chance, I saw on Facebook that there are many vaccinations in the clinic, that everyone is invited there, regardless of age. Well, I sort of got ready to get vaccinated that day. I just went there, and on the same day, without waiting in line, without any problem, I got vaccinated.
Всяких проблем с велосипедом.
Egypt was one of the first African countries to start vaccinating the population against COVID-19. At the beginning, as is the case around the world, medical staff will be vaccinated for free. Following the healthcare workers, the drug will be given to the elderly and people with chronic disease. Correspondent Natalia Panova shared the latest news from Egypt.
Всего на текущий момент в Египте зарегистрировано менее 200
In total, at the moment, less than 200,000 people have been ill with coronavirus in Egypt. For 105 million population of a country with a very high density, 94% of Egypt is desert and only 6% habitable terrain along the Nile. This is a very optimal picture. We should also bear in mind that over 90% of people in the country are below the poverty line, with an income of up to $200 per month. Therefore, the closure of the borders hit the tourism industry, which makes up a significant part of Egypt's GDP.
катастрофически ударила по сфере туризма, которая составляет существенную часть ВВП Египта.
Before COVID-19, we had a lot of tourists everywhere, in charm, coming from different places, enjoying everything. Business was very good. We have very good work. And then suddenly we have the shock of the COVID-19. All business were closed for a long period of time. All restaurant, everything were closed. So it was like shock for everybody. So we had a long period of time hard. There is no work, and the countries try to support, the government try to support, but of course it's not like a big amount. So you need to cooperate with yourself, you need to have different ideas. So now it's of course not like before. It's changing yourself. You need to go on, survive from this situation. So you start to, for myself, I start to do something like e-marketing, start to learn this, to open like a small exit from this situation, to have like income, extra income. And then now starting a little bit, the country start to open again a little bit, but of course it's not like before. It's like less than 50%, like maybe 20%, comparing for last year.
Власти республики предпринимают активные действия по восстановлению индустрии туризма.
The authorities of the Republic are taking active steps to restore the tourism industry. For example, prices for domestic flights from the capital to the most famous resorts in Egypt, Alexandria, Sharm el-Sheikh, Hurghada, and others, have been reduced. This is done primarily for Russian citizens arriving on regular flights to Cairo. After a Russian plane crashed over the Sinai Peninsula in 2015, charter flights to Egypt from the Russian Federation were terminated. Now, mainly citizens of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Ukraine vacation in the resorts of Egypt.
Сейчас на курортах Египта в основном отдыхают граждане Казахстана, Узбекистана и Украины.
The situation with the observance of sanitary standards in Egypt is ambiguous. In some hotels, staff wear masks everywhere. In others, such discipline is not observed. Tourists are required to wear masks only outside the hotel. In the capital of Egypt, Cairo, all public institutions operate, including museums and restaurants. A visit to the most famous landmark of the country, the pyramids, is limited only by the entrance to the tombs. Since the passages in them are narrow and cramped, the country's authorities decided not to let people inside during the pandemic. Quarantine as a way of life. Starting in November last year, all over Europe, with a difference of several weeks, the countries declared quarantine. Then they relaxed restrictive measures, only to reinforce them again. At the moment, in the capital of the European Union, Brussels, there is a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. On all streets of the city and shops and schools, you must wear a mask. If violated, you will pay a fine of 250 euros. It's forbidden to visit or invite guests. On the street, companies of no more than 4 people are allowed to gather. Beauty salons, restaurants, and cafes have been closed for 3 months. All companies are required to transfer employees to the remote work mode as much as possible. Travel outside the kingdom is prohibited until March 1st. And it would seem that Belgium is not much different from any other European country. But it is here, in the small town of Puurs, that the elixir of health for the whole of Europe is made, the vaccine against COVID-19. 600 specially equipped trucks have been transporting vaccines to various parts of EU since December last year. The Belgian company is also engaged in supplies. The temperature in all cars is exactly minus 70 degrees. Now the number of vaccinated people is calculated only in tens of thousands, and it's already clear that not all Europeans are waiting for their turn and their microdose of COVID.
Наша семья единогласно считает, что в этом нет.
Our family unanimously believes that this is not necessary because we do not see a real threat, and this disease is just like a seasonal form of the flu and nothing special.
Сезонную форму гриппа и ничего особенного.
The first on the rescue list with free vaccines are retirees from nursing homes. Not always successful. After such an injection, one Belgian died. He was 82 years old. The medical record contains a whole list of chronic diseases, so local doctors are in no hurry to link this death with the vaccination.
На самом деле, ковид вообще раскрыл.
In fact, COVID gave us a lot of opportunities. We had to understand ourselves.
Должны были понять себя.
Quarantine made Olga, like thousands of others, to completely immerse in the family. For almost a year, many employees in Belgium work from home most of the time. When the noise of the office suddenly died down, people were able to hear themselves. And came the realization that the only life is wasted in the wrong place and on the wrong people.
Это возможность все-таки как бы копнуть вглубь себя.
This is an opportunity, after all, to dig deep into yourself. We had time to be alone with ourselves. Of course, this situation with the COVID helped me a lot. Even this experience I consider as positive. I really understood what I want from life and what can I do.
В каком плане? Я реально поняла, что я от жизни хочу. А что я вообще могу?
We have been in isolation for 101 days. Today is the 101st day.
Сегодня 101 день.
It's much more difficult for restaurant business owners and beauty workers. Their everyday life is reminiscent of life on a desert island. Not a single client, and counting days behind closed doors.
Что еще очень странно, что
What's also very strange is that while we are waiting, fitness clubs are closed, but at the same time we have crowds of people on sales.
Фитнес-залы закрыто, у нас толпы людей на распродажах, в бассейнах забиты.
Pools are full of children and adults. Where is the logic? The only answer is there is no logic.
Ответ один, логики нет.
It's forbidden for us to travel further than 15 kilometers. Since our grandparents live 500 kilometers from us, we cannot see them. And it's still unknown when it will be possible. And this is Germany. Angelika, from a town near Munich, almost every day passes by the kindergarten of her eldest son with longing hope. For more than a month, educational institutions for kids have been closed. The whole family, they admit, misses the lessons. This is especially a big tragedy for mothers because you do not know what to do with your child, how to keep him occupied, how to entertain him. Children are very bored. They need to communicate and they must study. For example, I have a child, he's going to first grade this year, and he needs to study. Unfortunately, I cannot give him the level of knowledge that he needs. Germany and Austria have some of the toughest restrictions in Europe. Only grocery stores are still open. Although now for the Austrians it's even more difficult to get there. They are not allowed in ordinary masks. Entrance is allowed to people with respirators with a high degree of protection. At this time, 27 countries of the European Commission are actively discussing the creation of a new controversial document, a health passport or vaccination certificate. Although 6 months ago the idea itself was rejected as quickly as it appeared. More than others, the initiative is lobbied by the Greek authorities. Too much traffic in the summer season. They are also supported by other resort countries. However, they promise not to close the borders for those who haven't had their vaccine.